Hey, Lei, what did you do to make a mark on this world? What mountains did you climb? Which angels gave you their wings? Which skies have you flown? And when you reached the heavens, who was there to catch you when you fell?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lovecraft Country by The Verdict's In. I'm your host, Nicole.
I'm Gary.
And today we're talking about Lovecraft Country, episode 3, entitled Holy Ghost.
The Holy Ghost.
The Holy Ghost. Gary, what'd you think of this episode?
I thought this was a pretty good episode. And it started off with the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
But all I thought about in this scene was the last time I went to church, which is sad because that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I thought about, when I was younger, I used to go all the time, and people all around me passing out, catching the Holy Ghost, just doing the most up in there. I ain't gonna make fun of it because they really could be feeling it. But the last time I went to church, I remember I was a guest there. And you know how they say, "All guests stand up, come to the front, whatever." Mm-hmm. So I'm a guest. I stand up, go to the front. They asked me how I found out. I said, "Okay, I came here with my friends." One of the dudes was in the choir. So all the guests, they lined up in a row, and they was doing their little thing, preaching and stuff. And all of a sudden, I saw the pastor, like 1, 2, 3, about 4 guys away from me, maybe 5.
I know what you're about to say.
5 guys away from me. The pastor put his hand on the head, and the guy passed out. I'm like, whoa. Then he went to the second dude. I'm like, hold up, is he coming this way? I'm like, hold up, is he coming this way? They say, he about 2 guys away from me. I'm like, oh no, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
So then they put their hand on my head, and I didn't go down immediately. So then he kind of pushed hard, kind of almost snapped my neck back.
Dang.
So I went back because So then I guess I was after I went back.
Dude, you don't know what's going on here?
Yeah, like I didn't know my part.
Yeah.
It's like, I was at an audition. I failed. I didn't know my line. I didn't know I was supposed to go down. I knew I was supposed to go down, but I thought, I didn't know whether the spirits was supposed to take me down or whether I was supposed to go down on my own.
Right.
But anyway, I got back up too fast, I guess, because when I'm getting up, he do it again. So now I fall back down. So I try to get up and do it again. So I'm like, man, let me just lay here like the rest of everybody else. Because, everybody else fell down. Their arms fell.
They did their part.
And they just laid there.
Right.
And, I guess, like I said, it's been a while since I've been in church, so I didn't know that they were supposed to do. So now I'm laying there thinking in my head like, man, Gary, why even say it? Why even say this your first time here?
Right. I've had a story like that too. I can't remember the specifics, but I know after that, anytime I ever went to a brand new church and they were like, is anyone here for the first time? I was like, nope, I am not standing up. I know better. Not going to happen.
Yeah, then I felt bad. I was discussing with myself the whole ride home.
Yeah, like you felt like a fraud?
Yeah, I feel like a fraud. I'm like, Gary, why you even do that? Now you had the pastor and everything. They have powers and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, this show was excellent. It was great. And, it scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, very scary.
Very scary.
I wasn't as scared as I thought I was going to be because I get very, very scared of movies, especially when it's like supernatural. It's one thing when it's like a thriller and there's like a guy that's trying to kill somebody, but like when it's a ghost or something that you can't fight, like a Freddy Krueger, that's what scares me. In this case, that's what it was. It was a scary ghost or scary ghost.
Several.
But I definitely enjoyed the episode. It was so different. Like first I was like, wait, is this supposed to be after everything that happened with Uncle George? And because
we find out it's like 2 weeks later.
Yeah, it was about a month later. They mentioned at one point, I think Leti mentions, hey, it's been 3 weeks since I seen you since the funeral.
Oh, yeah, she did say 3 weeks.
So I'm going to guess it's about a month later. All right, so let's get into it. It starts off with Leti and her sister. And remember, when we met the sister in the first episode, I said I could tell they don't get along. You could tell there was some animosity there. And the sister's naming all the favors that she's done for Leti, sending her money for this.
Well, that's not really not getting along. Her sister probably thinks she only come around when she wants something.
When she wants something. And we all know how that is.
If they didn't get along, her sister didn't like her. Her sister wouldn't have been paying her bills, fixing her camera, and sending her money.
Right.
So it wasn't that. It's like, okay, what is this time? You have those family members that are not quite responsible. So, when they come around or when they finally call you up, they're going to ask you for something.
Well, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. We all, like I said, we all know those family members. So she shows her this nice big old house. It's 3 floors, 13 rooms, and a basement, and an elevator. Which literally almost like when she's showing off the elevator, not showing off, but she's showing her the elevator, it immediately almost kills Leti. And Leti is so carefree, she laughs it off like, whoo, that was a close one. Where the sister's like freaked out, like, what the hell? Right. You almost died. You could have died. Yeah. So what did you think when you saw the big house? Did you think, oh shit, this is going to be bad for them? This is not good. Especially based on what we saw when the episode came on.
Well, I knew it was going to be bad for the simple fact that we saw the neighbors. When they were walking up to the house and I heard her talking like, yeah, you know, we can finally move or whatever she was saying. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at neighbors in the background like, what in the hell? And the thing is, she could probably pass from a distance. That's probably how she went and saw the house in the first place.
Right.
But her sister definitely can't pass.
Right.
So now she's walking with her sister, and now the neighbor's out like, hold on.
Yep, what y'all doing out here?
Are they about to move in there? And I thought to myself, with that ugly-ass house in this neighborhood, don't act brand new people.
Right. Don't act, I mean, there's an abandoned house in your neighborhood that's bringing the property value down.
Right.
Do you want it abandoned or do you want someone actually living there and keeping it up? Like, racism is a crazy thing.
It is.
And later on, Tick even mentions, he's like, smart day, when people aren't out, we know everyone's at church and they won't be able to see you move in, so they won't be able to protest it before you get a chance
at church is faking.
Yeah, at church faking. Come on. But let them tell it. This is God's way. Like people will somehow make a way to excuse their ugliness, you know, because they always use. Now I'm gonna say they. I'm not trying to make it like everyone, but generally, yes, those racist people, they generally use the Bible to, in some weird way, to make it sound like this is what God wants. It's crazy,
right? Knowing if they were in that church, which we saw when they were in that church, and they're burning crosses up there, tying bricks to steering wheels.
Right. That's godly. That's the Christian way?
Yeah.
Okay.
But one thing that happened that I thought was disrespectful on my people part is to throw that loud ass party.
You know what, girl? We're going to get to that. We got a few more scenes, but that is so funny because when I saw the person, wait, they really don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. But I'm conflicted on 2 different ways. I'm probably going to say stuff that like contradicts itself, but I have 2 different thoughts on it. So, all right. So we do see Tick. He goes to see his dad. And before actually he goes to see his dad, you do see him hanging out with Hippolyta. Is that her name? We were trying to figure out her name.
Hippolyta,
yeah. And she could tell she's having a tough time, and she's ripping the pages out of the Dracula. Is one of Uncle George's favorite books because he quoted it. But Tick goes over to see his dad, who's drunk, and they only talk for like 2 to 3 minutes before shit already is like, nope.
Yeah, he left.
Yeah.
Because he went to stay with his dad because he saw, sometimes you could feel the energy in some place to know, and he knew that he overstayed his welcome.
Right.
And I said that when she first came out, how she was looking at him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she must be mad at him, or every time she see him, it reminds her that George is not there.
Right.
And sometimes people go through that. People do that. They like, man, they be mad at the survivors.
Yeah. Yeah, like you came back, but my husband didn't. Why?
Right.
And
why?
She's probably mad at herself for even thinking that as well. She has probably a whole bunch of emotions going through her head. And when he's meeting with his dad, and that's how they actually get into the argument, he's saying, hey, we need to tell Hippolyta what happened. Like, I could just tell she knows something's up. And Montrose is like, no, the story is the sheriff shot him, and that's all she needs to know. And I was like, that was actually a good lie that they told.
That is.
And the fact that they were able to bring his body back, so she was able to get closure and like have a ceremony and bury him. I didn't see why she was suspicious, because literally that could have been really what happened. Like, we saw what happened on the road. That's literally how it could have really went.
It could have happened like that.
Yeah.
And I guess she's suspicious because they came back. Like, the sheriff shot him, but didn't shoot y'all.
Right.
And y'all were able to bring the body back.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they told her they took care of the sheriff.
Yeah, they did.
They handled him.
So immediately after Tick shows up to Leti's house now, her new house, and everyone's moving in, and they just looking like they're having a really good time. Like, it's going to be a fun community. Just, young black folks living together, you know, in this big old house.
Which seemed kind of cool.
Yeah. But then the whites show up. They're holding down the horn, just being petty and ignorant and evil for no reason. And they're holding down the horn. And Tick was saying he was on his way out. He was just coming to say bye. But then now he's like, you know what? I'm going to have to stay after all because I already know how this is going to go down.
Yeah. So I think he stayed to protect Leti.
Yeah.
Or I don't know why he feel like he's her protect. Well, we see why. I know why. But my thing about the horn is that's a neighborhood. Why are you trying to annoy them?
You're annoying the whole neighborhood, yes. And it sounds like they left it on because the night after when Leti was getting, you know, the ghost was taking the cover off her and she opens up the window, the horn is still going. I'm like, wait, going. So they had that on, like, is your racism that strong? You're like, you know what, we're going to ignore it for a few days as long as it annoys them more than it annoys us.
Yeah, like, how are you sleeping? Y'all got to be suffering too.
It just doesn't make sense.
It don't. And then, I mean, they must have some strong-ass car batteries.
Right. Well, you know, they said they make cars differently. The older cars are made a lot differently than they are today.
Well, they talk about, like, this material. But the batteries, battery would have been dead. Unless they kept coming out checking on it, starting the car up a little bit, getting that juice back going, you know, just to show their hate.
Well, maybe the battery was not connected to, like, I don't know anything about cars, so... All right, so what did you think? We get our first ghost appearance, sort of, with the ghost taking the blanket off of Leti. That had to freak you out, right?
Yeah, I had a feeling that this was going to be a haunted house. It just looked like one. Anytime you see these houses in the movies, the hunting, the haunted house, house of hunting, all of them.
All of them, yeah. Anything
that's the house right there.
Anything with the word house is going to be scary.
House or hunting. That's the house right there. So as soon as I saw it, I'm like, man, this is not going to be good. Not only do they have these white people to worry about, whatever's in that house. Well, we already knew the house was going to be haunted because the story. They said 3 people moved in the house and...
No, it said 9 people moved in, 3 people disappeared.
Right.
So I kept thinking, who are these? Every time it was different people. Even later on when they go with the I don't know what her name is, the Betsy lady that induced the spirit. I was like, wait. Betsy, Leti, and Tick are going to disappear? Like, I kept thinking, who are the 3 people that are going to disappear?
See, I thought it was a story before that. Like, the last owners of the house.
Okay. Well, Leti, stupidly, for some reason, she's investigating the noise in the creepy basement.
I'm wrong. Uh-huh. We already saw the 3 people that disappeared. The white guys at the end.
Yes, that's what I know.
Yeah.
I'm saying, but when it first came on and as the story went on, I was waiting who's going to disappear.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, see, I thought they were telling the story. I thought maybe it was the previous owners. Okay. Not you know, they moved in, they disappeared. That's why the house is available.
Right.
But, you know, now that makes sense thinking about what happened.
Yeah. So Leti goes to investigate the creepy noise in the basement, and Tick comes down. Afterwards, she's freaking out because of, you know, the ghosts, the voices. So Tick comes down and he investigates, and he's like, you know what? I understand everything we've been through. And he says a few things. He suggests that maybe it's because of, you know, what they just been through and they haven't talked about it.
Yeah.
But then he also says they're probably fucking with you. Like, they're probably messing with the boiler, making loud noises, making it uncomfortable for you. This is what we did in Korea. And Letty's like, well, why would you guys do that there? And then Tick didn't answer, and that made me think that, like, did our people, I don't want to judge. I don't know. Did they go over to Korea and then fuck with those people?
Yeah.
Like, that's what they were doing.
Yeah, you already know that.
Okay. I was like, I know, it just sounds so wrong when he was like, yeah, that's what we did. Like, wait, you went to their country and then started fucking with them?
Not only that, you are a black man knowing how we get fucked with in our country.
Right.
And you go to their country. But we already talked about this.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people went there because they thought they'd get respect, thought they'd be respected coming back. Like, we saw one scene at the party with the guy saying, oh, man, so you wore your uniform. That's smart.
Yeah, because then they'll see a soldier and they'll, you know, they might respect that. No, they don't give a fuck.
They don't care.
They do not give a. They don't give a fuck about the white soldiers, let alone the black ones. And maybe back then, they probably would at least show or act or pretend that they cared. At least, you know, there was some type of care for the white soldiers, but they damn sure didn't care about the black ones. So But he tells her, hey, you know what? This could be your dark room, because we seen Leti taking pictures all throughout the episode. So that was actually a good suggestion there as well.
It was. And I was saying, damn, she have a basement in a basement.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there was a basement inside the basement. That was actually a cool room, because for some reason I was like, I wonder if that room can stand like a bomb, or, you know, like what kind of room was that?
Like a dungeon. Like they kept people. Well, we already know they kept people captive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably what they built it for.
Right.
They built it for that. That's some straight up kidnapping pedophile type shit.
Evil shit. That's what that
Because
is.
if you think about it, how many houses do you think older houses were built like this? Mm-hmm. And older houses that are still there that people actually moved into.
Right.
That this stuff is still there.
Well, even when we watch some like House Hunters and stuff like that, and sometimes when people are looking, they're like, I want one of those old historian houses. I want one with a character. And sometimes the wording that they use, not character, but like the wording they use, I'm like, you want a little slave house. That's what you want. Like, you're describing it to a T. And that's what I thought of.
Like the plantation style house.
Yeah, plantation style house, you know.
With work quarters.
Work quarters, yeah.
Work quarters in there.
Yeah, I just do some, you know, I do some artwork. I want some work quarters, but that, you know, they want to feel it. They want to feel it in their blood when they be home.
Shut up.
All right, so here goes the party. Leti has a party. I'm just like, what the hell?
That party was disrespectful.
I'm like, hold on, it's like day 5. I mean, yes, that is typical. That's normal. That's regular behavior. Having a housewarming, inviting people over. But you would think with the animosity and the welcome or the unwelcome that they got.
Yeah, they had a live band and everything.
It was so many people. I was like, oh shit! Like, you would think it was months past and everything's all good now. Like, but at the same time, I was like, I'm not mad at y'all. Have your housewarming.
I'm not mad at her because I've seen this before. I didn't, you know, saw people move into the neighborhood. I go over to visit my friend, and man, they front yard just packed with people. Music's loud. And then, I mean, this party going all fucking night.
Yep.
Like this party did.
Yeah. Well, there was some MLK, you know, slander here at this party going on.
Yeah.
They mentioned him. They said, well, you know, he changed his name from Michael to Martin. And, you know, he was loving a white woman, but now they made him marry a black one. And Leti does say, just loving a white woman doesn't mean that you can't stand up for colored folks.
Right.
And I felt like kind of that was like Jordan Peele's line, because, you know, he is married to a white woman and he's very vocal about, you know, civil rights, human rights for people of color, in particular black people. And
equality.
Inequality. He's doing stories for black people with black people. So I felt like that was kind of also his way, because I'm pretty sure he's heard some nasty, mean things.
And it's crazy because, and I was telling you this before, that even with Martin Luther King, people didn't like him. Mm-hmm. Like during the time it was going on, there's people calling him sellout. I mean, you heard Malcolm X call him a sellout.
Right.
You know, there's people saying that he was pandering to white folks, all this other stuff. I mean, the people did not like him.
Yeah, clearly on both sides. And
right.
And that even happens today now with everything that's going on with the protests and stuff. And and people are like, well, this is against the law. I'm like, well, when the sit-ins happened, wasn't that against the law? When Rosa Parks sat in the front of the bus, wasn't that against the law? Like, people love to talk about what's against the law. Now these people are looked at as icons. They're looked at as heroes for making a change and taking a chance and doing something.
Right.
So stop telling me what's against the law and what's wrong and what's right. You 20 years from now, we're going to look at these incidences very differently than that they're looked at present day. I mean, there's a lot of us that are looking at him and going, hey, good job. Keep fighting the fight. But there are always going to be some people who are, well, this is against the law. Well, if it's not a good law.
There's always going to be people on both sides, that's going to see something wrong with what's going on. I saw a post today that said that it's crazy that Black Lives Matters have to explain looting. You never hear the NRA explaining school shootings. Oh. And that was deep.
That was. I honestly thought when the Sandy Hook shooting happened, I honestly thought like, okay, this is what's going to make gun laws change. And when it didn't.
Oh, the NRA pockets are deep, baby.
I don't even know how those parents now have not literally started a revolt. You know what I mean? Those kids were 5 and 6 years old.
Yeah.
It's sick. So sick. I can't even talk about it. I can't even imagine what those parents going through.
Well, you know how it go. Like, people still vote against their own interests.
Right.
If certain people say that something's wrong with it, even though you know something wrong with it, something happened to you, you still gonna fight against it. Like, oh yeah, but we have the right to bears. They're trying to take our guns.
Right.
We're just trying to take the guns out of the hands of the wrong people.
Right. All right, so we see Dee, her and her friends were at the party, and they were playing with a Ouija board, and it seems like it was George talking to them from the other side, in which she freaked out and did not believe. But a few things here, which I saw a lot of people talking about online. The little boy that said, like, am I going to have a good trip wherever he was going? They were saying that was Emmett Till, and that's why the Ouija board said no. Like, no, you're not going to have a good trip. Yeah.
I wonder what made them think that was Emmett Till.
I don't know. Maybe his name.
Maybe he was from Chicago, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was from Chicago. Because they're in Chicago, right?
Yes. And Emmett Till, his birthday was just like recently. Like within the last few days before this episode aired. I remember seeing that online. Yeah. It was within the last few days. Like maybe August 28th, August 27th, somewhere around there.
And he got killed when he went to go visit some family somewhere.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That shit is crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, but then I also saw people saying black kids do not play with Ouija boards. And I will disagree.
I disagree also.
Yeah. Because when you're a kid, the fear is there, but the fear is not there as it is as an adult.
Right.
A black adult probably wouldn't play with a Ouija board. Yeah. But black kids, yes. Yeah. Everyone played with them. It was the coolest thing. Like, what the hell? You know, you could talk to the dead. Like, you know, and if you weren't brave enough, you had to be brave to do it. So, yeah. I definitely can see
remember my stepfather bought a Ouija board, and my mother wouldn't let us play with it for nothing. And we kept trying to sneak and play with it, but she kept saying, "Get that out of my house. That's the devil's board." All this stuff. And I don't know whether it was fucking with us as kids, but my mother acted like she probably threw it out, but it just kept appearing. Oh, like every time. Yeah, it just kept coming back. And my mom be like, "Where'd this come from? I threw this away already. Who put this back in here?" And I'm like, man, that's some scary shit. So I'm going to have to ask my mom about that. Ask her why she's just fucking with us.
I didn't know Ouija boards came out that long ago. Like, I don't know why this is supposed to be 1955. I'm like, I didn't even know it was that, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right.
All right, so we get back to the party, and we see Leti. She is sexy dancing with the men. And then we see one of Tick's, like, homeboys, friends, whatever. He's like...
Nah, they ain't Tick friends. Remember, that's the guy from the bar.
Oh, yeah, that Tick already, like, did not... Like, you could tell he did not like.
Yeah, Tick don't fuck with him.
Yeah, okay. Well, he was up here talking to Tick like they homies, because he's like, yeah, I used to tussle with her. You know what I mean? Guys just be lying. He probably dated her for one day in high school, or maybe went to a school dance with her.
Danced with her one time.
Mm-hmm. But Tick was looking mad. I thought he was gonna go and break up that dance with Leti and the man.
Yeah, like he wanted to go fight the man.
Yeah.
And like Leti was messing with him because she looked over at him, stared at him for a second, then turned around and continued.
Kept dancing. I thought she was gonna stop dancing. Like, oh shit, Tick's watching me. But...
Nah, let me show him. Let me show him what he's missing.
So she walks off and goes to the bathroom. He follows, and they hook up. And we see Leti bleeding, and I immediately thought, I was like, oh, I even said it. I was like, oh, that was her first time. And then she's like, oh, I didn't know my cycle was starting. I was like, oh, I so assumed it was her first time. I misread the situation.
I believed her. I believed about the cycle because I wouldn't think that was her first time. I don't know why, but, you know, I guess I'd be judging books by the cover.
Yeah, I mean, because she just seemed very free.
Yeah, she seemed
And then the
free,
guy said he tussled
flirty.
with her. And, yeah.
I need to stop this shit.
Yeah.
Don't judge a book by the cover. Yeah.
So I forgot to get the name of the store that Ruby kept mentioning throughout the episode. And the first time when she mentions it, I didn't think anything of it. But here at the party, she was like, you know what? Well, actually, the first time she mentioned it, I'm like, you know what? I know that feeling of wanting to get a certain job. And you're so excited. And you're like, if I could just get this job, like, it'll put me on my feet.
Yeah, it's going to change the game.
Yeah, it's going to change the game. So, like, that, I like judge her for that. I was like, I get it.
He's been the first couple days of the job talking about what you gonna do with your first paycheck.
Me and Gary knew this guy from a long time ago, and he had got his job at Target. And when we tell you he was so excited, we're not knocking him for being excited. Like that's a good job.
Yeah.
But literally before his first paycheck came, that's all he talked about was what he was going to get his first paycheck. He had so many plans for that first paycheck. And me and Gary were like, that was a lot with one paycheck.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh, when I get my first paycheck, I'm going to do this. That's how you see him. When I get my first paycheck, I'm going to do this. Like, this dude's going to do everything with that first paycheck.
Yeah. But remember the joy of him getting that job.
Yeah.
So, employment is so hard, and it's even harder, even still today, for Black people to get a good job. And this is kind of what bothered me next. What Ruby said, I don't know how I feel, but it kind of bothered me, but I kind of get it, but it bothered me. And she's once again at the table talking about if she can get this job. She's like, I'll work harder than anybody else. You know, if more colors thought like me, then we'd be further along. And part of me felt sad, not just for Ruby, but for myself, because I still be thinking that shit. Like, oh, I'm gonna work hard to prove to men like that, you know, I got here for a reason.
Not me.
And I'd be like, what the fuck? No one else be thinking like they gotta prove that they got here for a reason. Like,
I'm that stereotypical Black person they talking about. Oh, lunch is over?
No, you're not. But I feel like sometimes, and maybe this is just my experience, so everyone's experience is different, but I do feel like, and at least in my field, you have to, at least for me or Black women, you have to prove that you were the right choice versus other people have to prove that they were the wrong one. Like, they get the benefit of the doubt, you know?
Right.
It's not till 2-3 years later where it's like, oh, they weren't a good hire. But me, it's like 2 to 3 years later doing really good. They're like, okay, I think I made the right choice. I was like, what the fuck? So when she said that, it kind of made me sad because I was like, what, Ruby? You don't have to work hard. I mean, you don't have to work harder than everybody else. Like, just work hard. Like, just do your job.
But really, she's not lying.
Yeah, but she's not.
She's not lying. It's sad. It's a sad truth.
It's a sad truth because it was sad that it was 1955 and that thing still applies. Like, that thought process still applies today. Right.
Because anytime I'm hearing a story about a person, like, oh, this used to be, especially when somebody talked to me, like, oh, the old manager here, you know, and I figured that they're talking about the old, like, this new management job that I just got. I'm with a new company, and this guy, and this company been going through management after management after management, you know, for the last couple of years. So I just happened to step in because I'm the man and I can handle it. But when a guy started talking to me about another manager, old manager that used to be there, and something in my head told me that the old manager was Black. Otherwise, why is he talking about him to me?
Yep.
And I must remind him of this manager. And when he said the manager name, it was crazy. I just started laughing because I knew the guy he was talking about.
Oh, yeah, I know the story, yeah.
The guy he was talking about was my manager at the job I came from.
Right.
So I'm like, and we're both Black, tall, bald heads, and everything. So that let me know more that, okay, I remind him of the guy. And plus, when somebody starts talking to you about particular people, you could tell, well, usually a white person's not going to talk to you about another white person.
No.
They're not. Not at all.
Nope.
It don't matter.
They'll tell you for 10 good years of how this one Black person fucked up.
Right.
They won't tell you about the 5-10 white people that fucked up way after them. They'll just remind you about that one Black person they gave a chance to.
Yeah, they gave a chance to.
Know? But gone.
But it's crazy. That's the thing, that it doesn't matter. And the Black guy they were talking about was only there a couple of months, and he left. When I told him I was taking the job there, he told me not to do it. Mm-hmm. He said, you know, that job right there, don't take it. There's nobody there that look like you. And, you know, especially in management, there's nobody in management that looks like you.
Right.
Which, I mean, now there's a couple of us, but there weren't. There was nobody in there that, you know, in the management that been there for a long time, 20 years, been there 30 years. You know, they were white guys.
Yeah.
And nobody talk about them, but the situation that I came into, we trying to build the company back up. So they had to tear this shit down. Mm-hmm. Somebody tore this shit down in order for us to be in a rebuilding stage. But they don't talk about that. That's all, the end. That's the end of my story.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy.
Well, that's kind of what like made me sad when Ruby was saying it. It made me sad for her because it was like, well, if everyone thought like how I thought, and it was almost like she was almost having I don't want to say slave mentality, but it was almost like Black people are down because they're not trying hard enough. And to me, at least, that's how I took her words. Like, if we could just all be like Ruby, a stand-up person, work super hard, don't work 40 hours, work the 50, 60 hours, we can finally be ahead. And we can finally actually be on the equal playing field. And at least that's how I took it. So it made me a little sad.
Yeah.
But immediately the conversation's kind of like thwarted because we see the cross is on fire. Leti goes out there and she kicks ass. She goes and breaks all those when she's tired of this bullshit. Like, I didn't know I thought she was going to look for water to put the crossfire or the cross out. No, she went and broke the windows of all the cars that are parked literally in front of her house, broke the what's the noise? The honking, the horn. And
they broke the brick.
Broke the brick, yeah.
Broke the side mirrors.
Yep.
Broke one of the handles on one car, and broke out the glass on every single car.
Yeah, but then the guys that were out there with them, they had guns. I was like, whoa, this is about to be a little war. But then Ruby comes, backs up her car, or somebody's car, whoever it was, their car.
Right.
They open the trunk, and they get rid of all their guns. Because
they hear sirens.
They hear sirens, and we know the Second Amendment does not apply to us. They wouldn't have been able to get away with that.
Yeah, not at all.
Like, what you guys doing with those guns? We done found three bodies on this gun. They would have found something. So, I really thought this scene was badass. They all got on their knees, put their hands up. And then immediately that next scene, I meant to look it up, Gary. Maybe you know the guy's name. And I really meant to look it up. But when Letty's in the police car and the police is just being racist, doing his due. And he was like, we received a lot of complaints about you. And she's like, well, what about all the complaints I've sent in?
Yeah, like the 21 complaints I sent.
And they're like, nope, we don't have no complaints. But next thing you know, they start driving the car crazy. She's slamming here, slamming there. And I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, the police arrested a man. It had to be within the last, definitely 10 years.
Yeah. I thought about that also when I was trying to think of his name. The guy who died on the way to the station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, well, the car must have been a little rough. And everyone's like, no, how the car might get a little rough. But fuck, if they were doing it intentionally, which everyone said, okay, if you guys were driving that fucking rough to where someone can literally die from the time they were fine when you picked them up and they're dead when the time they get to the police station, this was intentional. This is murder. And I don't even have to look the story up to know that they got off. I'm 99%,
yeah. I don't think there was an investigation, really.
No. So when this was happening, I was like, this is sick what they're doing. And then I was like, this shit is real. This stuff still goes on. Yeah. So I hope when people are watching this, especially people, not just even white people, anyone who maybe has never seen racism, never seen injustice, or just had turned a blind eye to it.
Oh, like Herschel Walker.
Yes. Yes.
Like Herschel Walker, he hasn't seen racism, and that's crazy because, he played football here in Georgia. He's from the same place I'm from, so I don't know how it missed him all this time.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably had that, and I ain't trying to be disrespectful, because Herschel Walker is, I met him in person, and he is a nice person, but it seems like he does have that OJ syndrome.
Oh, I'm not black, I'm OJ?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's people like him, and there's certain people, and I feel like if you are a grown adult, a grown man, black male, black female, or just a person of color at this point, and by the time you reach the age of 40, and you still feel like you haven't experienced racism, that means you're blind, you don't want to see it. When someone calls you, hey, boy, you ignore it. Or someone makes a little joke and compares you to something else, or does something, you're ignoring it. It's not that it hasn't happened to you, you just don't want to believe it's happened to you. And especially if you're successful, You're like, I didn't get this successful to still be racist on, you know?
And I can see them treating like a OJ different or treating Herschel Walker different because those were some good ass football players. And you know, people love winners, love people that's winning for them. Until something happens. When something happens, you know, they step out of line, they really see the angry and the hatred side of people.
Well, I was trying to look for the story of the man that died in police custody, but literally when I typed man who died in police custody, it was like too many. It was like the Google said which one. Narrow down the year for us, Nicole. I mean, that's not funny, but narrow down the year for us. But
that's true.
I think the guy I'm thinking of is Freddie Gray, 2015.
Yeah.
Freddie fell into a coma. 25 years old. Don't give me. I'm gonna get pissed off. I'm just gonna get pissed off. So let's move on. It looks like she must have immediately got out of jail because it's like the next day or a few days later, everything seems perfectly fine. Letty's looking at her pictures, and that's when she notices that there's marks on them. And she puts them all down and starts like evaluating them a little bit more, and a ghost forms from those marks and was like, get out of my house.
Yeah, that's crazy. So
literally, you don't have to tell me twice, ghost. I will never be back in that house again.
Yeah. But, you know, she's probably so desensitized to it from what happened before.
Right.
I mean, you could see that she's scared, but you can also tell that she paid her hard-earned money for that house.
Right.
Or not hard-earned money, but she paid money for that house and she wasn't giving it up.
Yeah. Which later, when she has asked the ghost for help, she's like, y'all not dead yet? Like, come on, help me fight. Like, and I was like, dang, Letty, you were so brave. You were so brave. I have so much respect for her. All right, well, Letty lets out accidentally because now they feel like the sister's like, we just have to leave. You lost your money. I told you it wouldn't work, da-da-da. And that's when she lets out, like, you know, I still have a little bit of money left from mom. And that's when they're like, after her sister quizzes her or grills her, she's like, yeah, mom left me money. I don't know why. And the sister's like, that's wrong. Like, why, if your mom left you money for whatever reason, even though you didn't come to her funeral, you should have split it between me and Marvin. I think that's his name. And she's like, you know, I used to think you're a fuck up. You're not a fuck up. You're fucked up. And I was like, damn.
And she's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. If you wanted to make things right with your sister, like you talked about all the bills you paid or she paid for you, all the money she sent you, if you really wanted to make things right, when you got that money, you would have came back and said, hey, I got this money. I don't know why mom left it to me because we really didn't get along.
Right.
But I must share this money with you guys.
Yep. If it's the right thing to do.
If it's the right thing to do.
And unless there was something that you knew, whereas in your mom and sister, like, they hated each other, their guts. And
it's still, it don't matter if they hate each other in their guts. That's still the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't care how my mother and one of my siblings, well, you know, we all get along, but I'm saying that if I wouldn't care how bad they hated each other or didn't get along, the right thing for me to do, I mean, that's still my brother.
Yeah.
Or my sister.
Right.
That's still my sibling. So the right thing for me to do is, like, I'm not gonna let my mom leave one of her kids out the will just because, you know, they had disagreements.
Right.
That's crazy.
No, you're right. And I totally agree with Ruby's her feelings on it. I agreed. Because at this point, Letty does feel or does believe that her mom is the one that left her the money.
Yeah. And her sister was right. Her sister said, you said that you wanted to get this house to help people. We already knew before that she wanted to get the house. She wanted to move into another neighborhood.
Yep. Which
I don't understand why, because why do you want to deal with that shit right there?
Right.
But we already knew she wanted to move on up like the Jeffersons.
Yeah.
Again.
But in a way, I'm conflicted on that because what's wrong with her wanting more? But at the same time, what's wrong with the black neighborhoods? We saw it. It was beautiful. It was nice. It was a community.
It was.
So I can't really.
There's nothing wrong with her wanting more. Mm-hmm. But who wants to deal? Why would you want to deal with that?
I wouldn't want to deal with that. Yeah.
Why would you want to deal with a cross being burned in your yard? These people honking their horns all night.
Right.
You knew how these people were going to act before you moved in there.
Yeah.
And her sister said that you said you want to help black people out, but the only people you moved in here was your artist friends.
Yeah.
So really what she wanted to do is she wanted to move on up to the east side, and she wanted her friends to be with her. You know how they say, I'm taking the crew with me?
Yeah.
She wanted to move on up, and she wanted the whole squad to come.
Right.
We made it.
All right, so at the cafe or wherever they were at, Tick comes over and he's so supportive, and he starts helping Leti. He's like, I believe you, so what can I help? Like, and she's like, she's showing him everything, and she's telling him what she found out from the police officer, and they immediately start putting everything together, Withrop House, which is something he noticed back when they were at the Lovecraft Country. Back, with Christina in the second episode, and then the scientist, the police officer, unethical experiments. They put it all together.
Yeah.
And that's when they're like, okay, there's a ghost in there. We need to help getting this ghost out.
You know what? Before we go there, and I'm sorry to cut you off on that.
Okay.
There was a part when I seen his aunt go into a room, and there was this little silver little equipment type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I never seen what she did with it or what happened with that.
I don't think anything, which is why I didn't write down, I don't think, because nothing really came from it.
Well, I'm sure they didn't put it there for no reason.
Yeah, it'll come up.
So do you think that's his auntie that came back or was looking out the window? Because when she went in a room with that, I was like, okay, something bad gonna happen to her. Then the next scene, they burn the cross, and she's looking out the window. So I'm like...
No, because the aunt was there when they burned the cross, because she was like, I gotta go get Dee, and she ran upstairs.
That's what I'm saying. But that was like the very next scene. You see her aunt go in a room with that little contraption, and then the next thing you know, they burn a cross, and the aunt is right there. So I'm saying, do you think that the aunt really went in the room, or... if the aunt really went in the room, do you think that the lady who was looking out the window was really his aunt? Or could something have happened inside the room? That's why.
What lady looking out the window?
His aunt. Let me slow it down for you. In one scene, his aunt goes look at the contraption. She walks in a room, open the door.
Yeah.
You never see anything come out of that.
Yeah.
So from that scene, it's like the very next scene, a cross is getting burnt. And now you see the aunt running to the window and looking out of it. And now she's running looking for the kids. Mm-hmm. So I was wondering, like, what happened when she went in that room? Could this be someone else and not his aunt? Could it...
Oh, it could be like a ghost.
Yeah, could it be a ghost? Could, she be in another dimension? Something. Because, every time you see, like, little things like that, people switching dimensions and all this other stuff.
I did not think that. No, I thought we'll find out later what she found or what she discovered or what she thought of that contraption. If it is anything, I'm sure it's something, because they don't put anything in here for nothing.
I don't think they would have put that in there for no reason.
Yeah,
and I don't think that that's his aunt right there. You
don't think it's the aunt anymore? Okay.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. That's actually scaring me when you say that. Because she has a daughter. Like, that's scary. That's really scary. We'll see.
Because, shows don't do stuff like this. Especially sci-fi don't do anything like this for no reason whatsoever.
Right.
They didn't show her go in that room with a contraption and never showed us what the contraption does.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Leti here also mentions to Tick that it was her first time. He's like, oh my gosh, like, are you okay? He's like, yeah. She's like, I needed it, da-da-da, but it was my first time. And I was like, I knew it. I'm like, when it happened, I thought that's what it was, that it was her first time. But then when she said it was her period, I was like, oh, okay. So, but Tick's first advice to her is like, you know what? It's time to move out. And the next thing you see, nope. She's like, we're going to sacrifice a goat. And
yeah.
The lady there, I thought she was crazy. Even Tick thought she was crazy when she put the blood, because he's like, where'd you find this woman? And she's like, my mama, she wasn't shit, but she knew some people. So yeah. She said something like that. So they pretty much form a circle, and this is where we get everything. And she's like, no matter what, do not let go. And while they're starting this, that's when we see the 3 guys break in, and 2 of them get locked into the room.
And that is crazy. Now you break into a home with a bat. What are you going to do? Beat the person? Well, they could get away with it.
And you don't even know how many people are in the house. Like, you don't know how many people you would have found. And then the fact that they thought they heard a baby, they're like, okay, this is it. I'm like, wait, really? You would still try to fight someone that had a baby there? It's just crazy. But it is like a baby on a man's body, and, you know, we see them pretty much die. I couldn't tell. What was that? Was it the boiler misfunctioning?
Yeah.
Malfunctioning? And then the elevator takes the third man's head off. They were killed pretty much instantly.
Yeah, they didn't make it too far in the home.
Yeah.
But I think they saw most people leave out or move out.
That's okay. They saw that. Well,
They had to, because you're not just going to run in a home, especially the night you saw all those guys with guns.
Right.
So you're not just going to run inside the home with just a bat.
Right. Well, the bat of choice, that was like the weapon of choice this episode. Everybody had a bat. You know, Tick had a bat. Letty had a bat. Everyone had a bat.
Well, shit, that's still the weapon of choice.
Yeah, it is. But the scene down there with them doing the spells and the ghost coming out and Letty's like asking for help to fight. And then Betsy chokes Tick, and then the ghost moves to Tick. And when it moves to Tick, I was so scared.
Oh, that was some thriller type shit right there.
That was scary, because I'm like, Tick is strong. We already know he's strong. He's military. He's strong. And I was so scared. I was like, there's no way Letty's going to be able to fight him off. And that whole scene was so good. The whole cast. I mean, once again, Letty and Tick, they did a good job. So it's a few weeks later. We don't know how long later. Everything's back to normal. And the reporter comes, and, you know, the house looks nice. Everyone's happy. And she's like, hey, did you hear one thing? Did you hear about your 3 white neighbors missing? And Letty didn't miss a beat. She's like, no, I didn't hear anything. And we see their dead bodies, along with all the dead bodies that you can assume are black dead bodies.
Right.
From years of unethical, unlawful, non-consented experiments and deaths.
Right. And you say they found the bodies of, the police officer said they found a body of 8.
8 body parts is what he said.
Oh, 8 body parts.
Mm-hmm. So which is probably why a baby was on a man in people's arms. And like you saw when they were doing the spell, the people's bodies were finally coming back whole again.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so that's probably where the rest of the bodies are.
Yeah.
So if they found 8 body parts, I mean, there could have been
many more.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. And we see that the police officer, or we think the police officer, was actually kidnapping black people and bringing them.
Yep.
That was his partner in crime.
So we see Christina pop back up. This is pretty much the final scene. Turns out she's the one that sent the money to Letty. And she starts telling Tick a little bit more about his history and pretty much saying, hey, we can find these spells. You can learn these spells and, and learn more about your family history. So call me if you want to learn more. And Tick had a gun on her, and
Tick was about to kill her.
Yeah, and whatever spell she did, she doesn't have to say it out loud. That's how good she is. She was able to freeze him.
Yeah.
From preventing him.
And luckily she did.
Yeah.
Because like she said,
you can't go around killing white women in this town.
Right.
Are you crazy? Come on now. So, but very good episode.
Oh, this was a great episode.
Yeah, loved it. So far, so good.
Yeah, can't wait for the next one.
I'm going to miss Uncle George. I really am. I'm going to miss him. But
so hopefully he comes back.
Yeah.
And like I said, the machine that was there, I don't think it was there for nothing. And I don't think they looked through that whole house. I mean, this is, they're having a house party right now.
Yeah.
So they would have discovered the room, discovered that little contraption.
You're right. The contraption felt as if it wasn't there originally.
Right.
It felt like it was there at that moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then maybe we'll see more of Montrose. He has a new flask. We did notice that. So, but yeah, he's an asshole.
We already know he's an alcoholic. This dude was drinking in a hot sun in the middle of the day.
Yes. Come on. All right. Well, that is all we got. We would love to hear from you guys. Host at theverdictsin.com. That is HOST at theverdictsin. Or on Twitter at theverdictsin or facebook.com/verdictsin. And we will discuss your feedback on the podcast. Until then, I'm Nicole.
I'm Gary.
Bye.